Important is that the volunteer coach is the strongest association around the world. Now, they're not one association, they're not an organization, but it's the foundation of the sport. And without the volunteer coach, you look at every country, the volunteer coach outnumbers high school, college, professional coaches by magnitudes. So by far, they're the foundation of the sport. Not that the other coaches aren't important, but the foundation of sport is our volunteers, and they're the ones with the young kids. That's where everything starts. If we don't reach the young kids at an early age, develop their fundamentals really well, give them confidence, give them game experience, let them make decisions, let them play the game a little bit on their own, do a lot of things that they feel good about. If we don't do that, they're not successful. If the individual successful player, if he's not successful, they're going to find another sport. Okay, that's just common. Now, a lot of people say, well, you know, by the age of 13, 14, they're going to quit anyways because they're going to, you know, they got other things to do. Not if you're having fun, not if you're being successful in the game. I know this, kids will play the game a long term, and that's our goal as volunteers. That's how important your role is as a volunteer.
Injuries in all sports are on the rise, and it's interesting to me, despite everything that we know and we do as coaches and sports scientists, strength and conditioning, athletic therapists, the injury rates continue to rise. And it's like we talk to our athletes. The only way we can solve a problem is by truly understanding that problem. And I don't know if everybody collectively understands what the issue is. Well, Major League Baseball last year released a very important document called the MLB Report on Pitcher Injuries. And it was just a collection of opinions of people in the game, from the GMs to the head scouts to the orthopedic surgeons to the athletic therapists, the strength coaches, the players themselves, and the agents. What's going on in the game? Well, the consensus was a list of contributors to the injury rates. Things like the push for velocity, pitch design, and getting young kids to maybe do things with the ball they're not physically ready to do, year-round baseball, tryouts, showcases, a number of things that we would all discuss and probably come up with a similar list. But now the question is, what do we do about it? So this last year, Major League Baseball introduces, and I'm very proud of Major League Baseball for this, they introduced the first ever amateur recovery period, where no team or nobody from a team can work with, evaluate, or collect data on high school or college players for certain periods of the year to take the pressure off these players so they can get away from max effort work and maybe focus more on development. My side of the game is developing athletes so they can then be healthy and coachable on the player side. If we can get this rhythm down to the grassroots levels of the game and make it sort of an institutional kind of an approach from grassroots up to the players who decide to enter the high performance pathways, not only, I believe, will we see the level of play go to places we've never seen before, but we will get a handle on these injury rates, but it's going to have to be a collective effort with everybody in the game, and now is the time. We're over the edge now, so this is an important conversation.
The state of where the game is today. Through the history of time, you see the old pitchers, and if somebody looks at them, they'll, oh, that looks funky, and they wouldn't want to do that. But in the old days, they used to bring their hands down over their heads. They used to pick their hand up, their leg up high, and then throw the ball. And then what's happened is that through time, somebody said, well, those are too many moving parts, and all of a sudden you'll see like a Jacob DeGrom. What they do is they step in front of the mound, and when they step in front of the mound, do it this way. Their head is in front of their power foot, so when they lift, their head starts to drift forward. That's the name of the move, the drift. So everybody's drifting with their upper body, not giving their legs the sufficient time to start the action down the slope. And what happens? They start going down the slope a little early. When they go down the slope early, somebody thought about it, and they said, well, if we get the momentum to go faster, we use the gravity, they're going to throw harder. Yes, they are throwing harder, but they are just not giving the arm the necessary time to get in position, and that's where the injuries, in my estimation, comes from, because the whole delivery has changed on trying to be too fast, and I see incorrect movements. You have disconnection of your power leg just to get a lead leg block. You have scap retraction. You start working up top, and you do not use the legs and the ground up, and all of a sudden the delivery gets out of sequence, and you don't ultimately give the arm the necessary time. What is the necessary time? That when rotation starts from the lower half on the way up, the hand has the necessary time to get inside of the elbow. And as the rotation comes from the ground up, the arm is laying back. If it's in that position, you're in a safe position. If not, the arm gets outside of the elbow, and that's when you start to see a lot of the tendon issues, ligament issues. And then the last one is they throw and they stand upright. I want to see the pitchers finish with their lat to protect and break the arm on the way to the follow through. And we start to see the players that we've been working with have stayed healthy, they throw harder, and they have better command. And then what better result do you want as a coach than to keep your pitchers healthy, throw harder, and have better command? You're gonna have a winning situation.
Arms. I think everyone right now is trying to answer the same question, and everyone's doing their best to control pitch counts, control days off, control the schedule. But I think the real problem is that there aren't enough kids that are capable of pitching in a game where the coach feels comfortable putting them out. And so I think the real answer isn't so much found in pitch counts or in days rest. We're doing our best with that, but with tournament schedules and stuff like that, it's really hard to navigate, right, as a coach. I think the real solution is making more pitchers capable of throwing strikes. I think we write too many kids off to not be pitchers too early. And when you do that, you're relying on 4, 5, 6 kids to get you through 3 to 4 games in a weekend. You can do your best, but it's gonna be really taxing on them. So what happens if all of a sudden we have 8 or 9 pitchers that are capable of throwing? Now we can distribute the workload a lot easier and put less kids at risk of getting injured.
Teams I coach, everyone pitches. That's mandatory. Everybody trains to be a pitcher. Some pitch more than others, but in some years I had some pitchers, the most they pitched is 25 innings, and we lost the provincial final that year. Some innings, some pitched more, others pitched a little less. But everybody comes out to pitch, everybody trains, everybody throws 2 bullpens a week on off days, so they have time. It's a challenge as a coach, but you have to, as I said before, you want to give everybody work. Now, whether it's 1 inning for this person to develop their confidence, and a lot of times when you're playing every inning open at the highest level, it's open innings. So coaches, you gotta, it's, you're having everybody, we're trying to get in, we're trying to pitch everybody. I'm not trying to sit players in 9-man ball, because I believe at a youth level, they have to play. So with pitchers, I never ride the same arm, even though sometimes you feel you'd like to, because I said, gee, I could have won that game, I lost by 1, or we're up 2-1, and I just put in, like my 6th, 7th pitcher. But you know what, it's up to me as a coach to get them better.
Well, I've been coaching for a long period of time where pitch count was not involved, and it wasn't considered as it is today. So we have rules to abide by with BC Minor, and other associations do as well. But managing pitch counts is easy. We want pitchers to go out there to be very fresh and to be strong. It's not about results. And when we see a level of fatigue, or we know they're at a certain point, we're able to make a decision to remove them from the game. But my philosophy is we usually use about 3 to 4 pitchers per game. We want as many kids to play the game, to have the experience, and to us it's not about winning or losing or success or failure, it's about experience, and kids cannot improve if they're not getting experience on the field.
Well, as instructors, we really have to make sure we're doing a good job of kind of filtering out all of the information that we get. And we want to make sure that we give them information that they're going to take with them throughout their career. Now, one of the things I see now is social media has so many voices, so much input, that we have kids that are learning things from, albeit well-meaning people, that are not necessarily able to transfer to the field. And our job as coaches or instructors is to filter through all that, to make sure that we are not giving our kids information that has to be retaught later. Because a lot of times our kids who trust us and love us, believe in all these things we say, will have a hard time transitioning to new ideas from coaches in the future. Because, let's be honest, when you're their dad, when you're their coach, you're God. You're the all-powerful voice that comes from upstairs, and when that voice has to be told that the information is incorrect, kids have a hard time adjusting. So we as instructors, we as coaches, we as parents have to do a better job of making sure we validate this information before we give it to our kids, and making sure that we don't make it harder on them to adjust in the future. Make sure there's always room for flexibility, making sure that we extend the idea to them that something that may work at a lower level, where there's less skill, less speed, less talent, may not transfer to when these players are bigger, faster, stronger. And I think that's one of the main things we can do to help our kids filter information, not only give them the correct information, but give them the flexibility to learn new information.
Teaching progressions are a great way to look at kind of how you're planning your bigger picture. I think that one strategy maybe in a practice setting that you can use is you can bucket players, and it has to be done in a sensitive way, but you can have some players that might be stronger in some skills and they can be in a group, and they're in a little more of a development window in another group, so that you can modify your progressions for those players in your practice setting. That's really great if you have a few coaches, you have a few stations, different things moving around. The way we learn, right? We learn to walk by watching people walk. We learn to move by exploring and trying to accomplish something. So if we get too into and there's a lot of cool research and literature about this, but if we're explicitly teaching all the time, as in saying we have to be X, Y, and Z, that can also get in the way of freeing up an athlete. Or we might be wrong. We might be telling an athlete they have to move a certain way that maybe they don't. Maybe they have a stiffer physiology or something's going on with how their body works right now, and that's okay. So there's a good balance between teaching and then creating progressional drills and environments and challenges that just allow them to solve problems in a fun way. Problems being, there's a flying ball and I'm trying to hit it with the bat, or I'm trying to field it to this side, or I'm trying to catch it with my fingers up instead of like a bowl of soup. There's all kinds of challenges that they have to find solutions for, but explicitly telling them how to do it a lot of the time isn't the most effective way of helping them develop those skills.
Well, one of my favorite days. For me as a coach on my team, bunting, very, very hard skill to train. Some kids can bunt, some kids don't think they can bunt. So very tough on the players that think they can't bunt, really tough on the other coach, because they probably haven't taught their team how to defend a bunt. So that all changes on my day called bunt day. The only thing I call off is the bunt, as the signs from third base. So I used to train all my kids to bunt from the left side, even though they're right-handed. The parents struggle with that. That's okay, because you're 3 or 4 feet closer to first base. And what is the game of baseball but a game of inches? So, bunt day is on.
I think for coaches to step back and see the big picture, they really need to look at the group that they have, no matter what age group that you're coaching. Understand that they are still kids, and just because they put on a uniform doesn't make them professional athletes. Sometimes you'll get kids that come into the baseball park is the best part of their week, and you need to make it that way no matter what division you're coaching in, because you never know what situation they're coming from. All we're really trying to do as coaches is to help them move to the next step in life, whether that is the next level of baseball, whether it's to do better in school, or whether that's to be productive individuals within our community. So I think for me that would be the best way to help them see the big picture, is just understanding that they are, that our athletes are athletes, but they're also kids trying to figure out what they're gonna do with their life. And sometimes it's not a clear path for them what that is. So just be a good mentor.
What can coaches do to help their team dynamic be cohesive when it's a co-ed team, and what kind of role do they play in creating a culture where girls and boys all feel comfortable on the same team?
I think having those conversations with the team at the beginning, and just being like, hey, we're welcoming of everybody. Everybody here has demonstrated that they're good enough to be on this team. They're all here for different reasons, and so just reinforcing that everybody is here for a different reason maybe, but they're all here for a reason. And that, I think that kind of fosters that cohesive culture.
In baseball, we respect the other team just as much as we respect our teammates. We respect the umpires just as much as we respect our teammates and coaches. So after the play, always calm demeanor, ask, hey Blue, Mr. Umpire. Those are the only ways I would address an umpire. And, ask them as a question. Don't belittle them. Don't pretend like you know, because at the end of the day, they govern the game. So as long as you do it that way, I believe you're going to get a good response.
If you have a complaint, unless it's bullying, because we're going to address that, there's zero tolerance to that on the teams I coach. Don't talk to me for 24 hours. If it's a complaint or anything else, you know, say hi and goodbye, because you have cooler heads prevail. Same with myself, because I could make a bad decision. Let me reflect over 24 hours, let you, and then normally what happens is it's all blown over in 24 hours, or it's a lot where we can get to resolve the issue.
Remember their kids. They do the funniest things. They do interesting things. They've also changed over the years. We are now, as a coach, and even as a young coach, you are always a role model. You're always a mentor. But now, even more so with our electronic age, you are an entertainer. They want to be entertained. And again, don't use all your little gadgets in your first couple practices. One of the key things I used to do, and I love doing at practices, I always brought 2 big bags. They never knew what they were doing. They were always, Coach, what are we going to do today? And I said, oh, you'll see. And just keep them guessing. I loved that part of it, keep them guessing.
For me, the first thing is it should be fun. You're gonna see the cream rise to the top in any sport. The 1% kids are the 1% kids. They're the ones that can't miss. They're just so much more physically gifted. You couple that in rare occasions where they have a desire to be great, they have a work ethic. That's when we see once in a generation type players in any sport. But everybody else might just be there for recreation, for fun, for camaraderie. Let them enjoy themselves. When they get serious and when they start to demonstrate superiority at their age bracket, then let's migrate them into a more challenging situation. But we also have to remember as coaches and parents that just because we can afford something doesn't make it necessary. You can't buy your way into elite status. Your kid's either elite or they're not. Just because you can afford it doesn't mean that it's something necessary. What's your motivation? What's the kid's motivation? Are you doing it for yourself, or is a kid doing it for himself? You got to ask yourself these questions. Can't live vicariously through our kids. We've had our day in the sun. Let your kids be kids. Let them go have fun. They'll let you know how serious they want to be about sports.